Hello, Zalto Live listeners. Before we get started, we wanted to let you know that more teachings from Zen monk Claude AnShin Thomas are available in his two books, At Hell's Gate, A Soldier's Journey from War to Peace, and Bringing Meditation to Life, 108 Teachings on the Path of Zen Practice. Both are available wherever books are sold, and all proceeds go to the Zalto Foundation, dedicated to promoting nonviolence, awareness, and positive change.
Hello and welcome to Zalto Live, the podcast featuring Zen Buddhist monk Claude AnShin Thomas, who will share with you his life experiences that includes not only military combat, personal violence, and addiction, but also healing, transformation, and the ongoing joy of everyday life. Please enjoy listening.
Questions? Yes, Gabi.
AnShin, as far as I know, it was the first time for you to hold a retreat in Amsterdam. How did you experience the feedback, the resonance there?
Actually, it's not the first time. It's the first time in about 30 years. I came to the Netherlands and to Belgium quite often in the latter third of the 1990s. But this is the first opportunity I've had to come back in a while. And this was quite interesting. I feel it was a good group. I did a talk on Thursday night at another Buddhist center here in Amsterdam, and they were very pleased about the number of people who attended. And the number of people who attended the talk spontaneously made the decision to come to the retreat. I was a bit surprised on two counts. I had two people there who were ordained in other Zen lineages. And they were very keen to come to the retreat. And one of those persons was also a former soldier in the Belgian army. He was an officer in the air commandos. And his ordained name is Daishin. Yes. But it was, also there were, one, two, three. There were four people from Colombia. Yeah, so I was both surprised and pleased because I have a very warm connection to Colombia. I haven't been there in a while. Question?
AnShin, have you experienced any of the violence in Amsterdam or been in proximity?
No, it was really concentrated in the very central square. I think it's a Domplatz. Is the name of it. But the information that's coming out, various media outlets, is not entirely accurate. It's not the whole story. And I'm not sharing that here. Not the place. Question from the group. Yes, Taito. That's funny. Taito's actually here assisting me. He's in like the next couple of rooms. And just so that this is the first time that Taito has assisted me for this length of time. The very first time he's ever translated. Because Taito is by birth Dutch. And I must say, for the extended time that we've been together, he's done a really nice job, considering he's quite new at all this.
So you don't mention your own teachers. Is that something you expect from your students as well, to not mention you as a teacher?
That would depend. I think the whole point of not mentioning the people whom I've studied with, that because I am very much in the public, when people come to talks, when they come to retreats, I want them to come because they're curious or interested in AnShin's Dharma. And they're not coming through because of my associations with this person or that person. In intimate or private circles, I do share that information, but not publicly. So I guess that would depend on the nature of the person who studies with me. It would depend on the nature of what they're doing, like that. And I think this is something I came to on my own through my study of Zen's heritage, the lineage that's been passed to me. Yes, so from about the year 800 from the 800s to the 1500s, it was generally the rule. People just didn't do it until they died. Question from the group. Oh, Kenshin.
My question is regarding silence. If you have buoy points or perimeters where you kind of know oh, I need to add a bit more silence, or right to negotiate how much silence to have in your life?
Silence is not the absence of noise. That's I think it's a misunderstanding that a lot of people have. Sitting in the zendo where no one's talking, and all I'm left with is me. My head can be really noisy. So this whole notion of silence is really not an external matter. For example, in my studies, I've read on more than one occasion, anyone can sit in silence. Anyone can sit in a cave, but sitting in the midst of 1,000, 10,000 people, this is really true sitting. I can really sit there. Now, there are times for me when there's just too much activity, and I need to just get away from that. It's not about silence, or it's not about the noise. Yeah, it's about the uncomfortableness, the feeling of chaos about all this random activity. Yes, question from the group. Miriam.
Last week you talked about your mother and about violence regarding her. So she wants to know about compassion. What do you think and what do you feel? Can you explain more about compassion?
What I can say without hesitancy is that any idea we have of compassion is not compassion. Compassion is a fluid state. It reveals itself to you. And it may not look anything like we think compassion is supposed to look. The truth of compassion, like the reality of meditation, is revealed to us in any given moment, but is dependent on a sustained, committed, disciplined practice rooted in self-reflection. That the foundation of such a practice is sitting. Question from the group. Yes, Genrai.
Friday and Saturday there were many memorial services around the Progrom night. What do you think about it? And would you say it's important to have them?
So if there's people out there who don't know what Genrai is referencing, so these happened on the 9th, Genrai, the 9th of November? Yes. Yeah, the 9th of November marks the night where the synagogues in Germany were attacked. It's known as Reichskristallnacht. However, what I have been informed, the more appropriate reference is it a Reichsprogramnacht? The more appropriate way to refer to this particular day, Programnacht. It was an organized attack on synagogues throughout Germany. So yes, it is critically important to mark that. And it's equally important to learn through these processes how to be responsible for that suffering that's been transmitted to me and to not be held hostage by my own guilt. It's very important, critically important. Here in the Netherlands, I was invited to meet with a school class. They're 14, 15 years old. They were assigned to do some sort of project around peace and nonviolence. And that at Hell's Gate and some documentaries of which I'd been a part of are offered as reference materials. So in this class, private school, there were young people there from the United States, Japan, from the country Georgia, from Ukraine, from India, and from the Netherlands. I asked them if they knew how many people were killed in the Second War. But yes, there was one young man from Israel, and someone said, yes, 6 or 7 million. I informed them that was the number of Jews that were murdered. The number of people killed in the Second War was far greater than that. To really understand what that number signifies. The effort to eliminate, to purge the world of a particular group of people based on their religious beliefs, based on someone's idea, the tendency for humanity to create enemies as a way to avoid our own responsibility for our suffering. So yes, it's important, absolutely. Question? Yes, Robert.
Are you concerned with all the happenings in the world around the globe that we are on the verge of a third war?
Oh, I don't know. Really, I don't know. If I look at the level of violence that has been a constant thread through humanity, it's hard to say. I don't really concern myself with those things. Nothing I can really do about all of that all that exists outside of. What I am unwaveringly and ruthlessly committed to is waking up to the roots of war, violence, and suffering in me and living my life differently in the world. I also keep in mind that the world doesn't need us, not as much as we need the world. So, I don't know. I spend a lot of time out there. Question from the group. Yes, Daishin.
Do you have any plans to sort of hit the open road on your motorcycle when you come back?
I hope that if I ride my motorcycle, I never hit the road. But no plans. Question from the group. Yes, Robert.
Is it important to practice in one lineage with one practice and not dabble around in different things? Do some yoga, do some Zen, do some Tibetan Buddhism, etc.
Yeah, I do think it's important to be established in one tradition before one begins to branch out, because it's too easy to get too confused. I'm really grounded in one tradition. Then when I visit other lineages, I do other practices. I can see where I'm connected, not where I can see where I'm connected. What is it? I have to be careful about being too open-minded. Because if I'm too open-minded, my brain will fall out. Questions from the group. Yes, Genrai and then Hans-Jürgen.
If one of the memorial services, like publicly or so, would fall into one of our practice times, should I go to the memorial service or come to the practice? So in the way which is more important?
I don't have a fixed idea about that. From my side, my commitment to this practice, the ways it manifests itself in my life, they're primary for me. So even in the midst of facilitating an in-person retreat, I construct the schedule in such a way that I can manage my online commitments. I would also say that while these particular ceremonies are important, what's more important is to never forget. Constantly be available to that which is celebrated during these memorial services. For example, tomorrow, 11th of November, is Veterans Day in the United States. It's important for me to connect with those people who are willing to work with that experience in a constructive way and not just wrap themselves all up in the ideology of it all. But in my life, Veterans Day is every day. I don't go to these sort of special ceremonies that they have, because the majority of people that go to those only pay attention to us on that day. It's a bit empty for me. Nonetheless, I do acknowledge that day. I do mark that day in a very practical way. So yes, one really needs to decide. Hans-Jürgen.
When I'm sitting in the morning and then afterwards I recite the Four Great Vows. In the evening I recite the evening Gatha. Does that work like this or should I change something?
Does it work for you?
Yes.
Good. But that sort of fits with what I do. And I do a few other things. But that's generally what I do. Now I'm doing a ceremony for the dead to mark Cleo's death. While I mention Cleo specifically, when I do the ceremony for the dead, it's also for all those who have ever died in any war throughout space and time. That's always there. But this service is specifically for Cleo and for all the animals who give so much to us, to their passing, to their question from the group. Yes, Gabi.
Did I now understand it correctly? Cleo was a cat?
You did. You had to show him, Kenshin.
There she is.
Cleo.
Cleo
was a hospice cat. Kenshin brought her from the cat orphanage because she wasn't getting the sort of care she deserved. And Kenshin and I cared for her, predominantly Kenshin, for 5 months. She's a precious thing. Question from the group. Robert.
Have you ever had to put one of your pets to sleep? And if so, did you stay with the animal during the euthanasia?
So have I ever euthanized? Yes, and yes, always. Because we do hospice care also for animals that have been abandoned because of their illness. We support them as long as they want. They let us know when it's time. As we while we're taking them to the veterinarian, we recite the names of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, stay with them through the process, we bring them back to the center, and we bury them with a ceremony. We wrap them in prayer flag. Some of them had been buried in the beds that they laid in. Acknowledge them, care for them, to really mark the value of their existence. That's my responsibility. Last question. Yes, Robert?
After you do that many times, the euthanasia, does it get easier?
No, and I hope it never does, because it also, it's challenging for me on a number of different fronts. It reminds me of all the deaths I've been responsible for. It's a very difficult decision for me. It would be cruel to not honor what the animal is letting me know it needs. Each death also presents me an opportunity, not only to be with them through death, but to become more in touch with how impacted I have been by irresponsibly taking life. I will say, though, that with Cleo, Kenshin handled that responsibility because I wasn't here. So I can only support it in the ways in which I can.
Thank you for listening to this episode on Zalto Live. If you would like additional information, please look at the show notes or visit zalto.org. That's ZALTHO.org. Our work is made possible solely through donations, so please consider making a tax-deductible gift on our website. We wish you well and thank you.